Bradford City A.F.C are a League 2 side that play in Bradford in West Yorkshire at Valley Parade, which has a capacity of 25,136. The name Valley Parade comes from the steep hillside where the stadium is located, as it used to be a quarry. Bradford's badge shows a shield with a claret and amber stripes, the team colours, and the club's initials BCAFC, with a banner with the team nickname below, the Bantams. On top of this is a bantam, which is a small chicken. Bradford City initially were a rugby team called Manningham Rugby Club, but switched to football in 1903, which is considered Bradford's founding date. They were elected straight into the second division as soon as they switched. It didn't take long for the club to find success, as in 1908 they'd managed to win promotion from the second division and enter the top flight for the first time. A few years later, in 1911, came their greatest year as a club, finishing in the highest ever league position to date, 5th in the top tier, and winning the FA Cup that year after Jimmy Spears scored in the replay, leading them to a 1-0 victory over Newcastle. After World War I, Bradford began to struggle though, as in 1922 they'd be relegated from the top flight, and then not long after they'd be relegated again to the 3rd tier in 1927. From there, they'd become cemented as a 2nd or 3rd tier division club, not achieving much success up until World War II. And after World War II, things didn't really improve, and by 1961 they'd be relegated again to the 4th tier for the first time in their history. The next 20 years weren't much to shout about either, with the club regularly bouncing between the 3rd and 4th tier of English football, but never really making a shout to go any higher. And in the early 80s, things looked bleak for Bradford as the club had to be saved from insolvency. But after this, things on the pitch took a turn for the better, as they were able to win promotion to the 3rd tier in 1982 and promotion to the 2nd tier in 1985. However, in that title-winning season in 1985, one of the worst disasters in English football history occurred on the last day of the season, when Valley Parade caught fire, killing 56 people and injuring hundreds more. This led to major changes in how stadiums were built and maintained in the country. Bradford wouldn't play at Valley Parade again for 19 months, but managed to cement themselves as a good second division side. In fact, in 1987 they made a real push for promotion, but fell just short in the playoffs to Middlesbrough. But 2 years later, they were back down to Division 3. In 1994, though, in came a new chairman, Geoffrey Richmond, who promised in 5 years to take the club to the Premier League. He cleared the club debts, and it started well with a promotion under manager Chris Kamara after they beat Luton in the playoff final. They would just survive the following year, and in came Paul Jewell as the replacement manager, and Jewell managed to take Bradford up to the top flight by finishing 2nd in 1998, their first time back in the top flight for 77 years. Jewell was able then to defy the critics who labelled his side Dad's Army by surviving on the last day by beating Liverpool 1-0. Unfortunately, the success was short-lived and they'd be relegated that following year. Then the club spiraled into administration and would be relegated all the way down to the 4th tier by 2007. From 2013 though, the club would gain a giant killer reputation, becoming the first since Rochdale in 1962 to reach the League Cup final from the 4th tier of English football and beating 3 Premier League sides en route before losing to Swansea in the final. They'd win promotion that year too, getting back to the 3rd tier before beating 2 more Premier League sides, Chelsea 4-2 and Sunderland 2-0 on an FA Cup run in 2015. Finally, in 2019, the club was relegated to the 4th tier where they are today. Bradford's greatest achievement would be their FA Cup win in 1911, Bradford playing claret and amber and are the only professional side to do so in England. They inherited these colours from the rugby club, and it's thought these colours were chosen as it was the colours of the Prince of Wales West Yorkshire Regiment, which was based nearby. Bradford's nicknames in the past have included things like the Wasp due to their colours, but today they are better known as the Bantams, which, as I mentioned, is a small chicken. Bradford do have a rivalry with the other team from Bradford, the smaller Bradford Park Avenue, but other rivals include West Yorkshire clubs like Leeds and Huddersfield. An interesting fact about Bradford is that they were instantly given membership to the 2nd division as the Football League wanted to promote football in the rugby-dominated West Yorkshire. And that was the quick history of Bradford City A.F.C. Up next is Brentford.